I try to make everyone a whole person, and I'm trying to think what you saw, what was on last night that you saw.
When they go up against each other for point guard.
Yeah, I mean, she's competitive. But, you know, I feel like in Mean Girls, and a lot of times when you see teenage girls portrayed in sort of the bitchy cheerleader thing, you don't really understand where they're coming from, and she's a real person to me.
So we will get some insight into where she's coming from. We'll maybe see some home life situation.
Can't reveal that much, but you will. Someone called her a ticking time bomb.
Katie did.
Katie did. Mm-hmm. Katie did. And that could have some truth to it. Okay. In a surprising way.
Okay. The decision to leave, to have Angelo leave, and then to have him come back, I assume, in a few episodes. Is this going to stir up more drama because the girls are both so attached to John, even more now because they've been abandoned yet again? And when he comes back, what is that dynamic going to look like between him and the girls versus him and Regina?
Yes, I mean, having Angelo is... Look, what makes our show unique is that it's like big love for teens. There's 2 moms, 2 dads, same house. It makes everything extra complex. And it makes the parents feel insecure and competitive even if they don't want to admit it. If I had someone right next door as a mother to my kids, I'd feel under the gun a little bit. And so it certainly makes John uncomfortable in ways that he may not want to even admit. Now, what makes it more complicated, and he's on firm ground in that Angelo's a complicated guy, and we don't really know if he is here solely for all the right reasons. So John is genuinely being protective of his daughters. But in the same way with Simone, I think of Angelo as a full person who is not just a bad guy.
Right. And when he comes back, I mean, he and Regina kind of started something up and it got interrupted. So are you picking that up? If he comes, well, I've already been told he comes back by one of your actors who I will not out. Would you like to see that, I mean, explored further, or do you...
Certain people in your life who always have a pull over you, even if you don't want them to, and certainly Angelo is that person for Regina, and even as she gets involved with someone else, as I think you saw last night, the beginnings of a new relationship.
Which I love, by the way. I love that guy.
Yeah, so do we. And so there's just certain people, that can never really get out.
Should we take that to mean that maybe for Emmett and Daphne, it's that same pull?
No, I don't think it's exactly the same. Regina and Angelo were lovers. They had a history. Daphne and Emmett were best friends, and he always had a thing for her. They certainly will always be in each other's life as best friends and complicated, but I don't think it's quite the same as analogous to Regina and Angelo.
Can you talk a little bit about the decision to make the character of Bea a virgin and to reveal it in the way that you did? Because I was saying to Vanessa, it's so interesting that there are really not a lot of characters like that on television right now, and when there are, it's the defining characteristic about them, and yet it's so not with Bea.
Well, first of all, I have a lot of writers on my staff who are moms to teenagers. And also, so we talk, and statistically, you just find out that kids are not quite as sexually active as you might think. And there are a lot of girls who are virgins at 16. That's not so young to be a virgin. And we just thought that made sense. And it was interesting to me, I have to say, reading a lot of the fans were so surprised when Emmett said he wasn't a virgin. It didn't surprise me at all. He was in love with Daphne, but didn't mean he was celibate.
Right.
He
was dating around. We knew that.
Yeah, his heart belonged to Daphne, but he wasn't sitting at home crying. So I think people's sexuality are private, and it may surprise you.
Are you exploring that going forward, or are they actively talking about having sex together? Yeah.
Certainly. Sex is always going to be on the table.
But it seems like they're fighting more these days. Yeah.
Well, you think you want people to get along all the time, but it would not make for a very good TV show. So
it's going to get a little bit heavier before they are back in love.
I feel like we're testing Bea and Emmett as a couple and making sure that they are this strong couple that we feel like they are, but couples are tested.
And you're pretty active on Twitter. When you see fan reaction, do you see more Bay Emmett, or do you see more Emmett Daphne fans?
I don't follow actually Twitter so much.
On there, that's a step up.
I prefer actually, I have to say, the longer comments on forums where people are more thoughtful and they have more time to express themselves. That's what I follow more. I'm interested in just the longer forms of communication. So those I find really interesting.
And are you finding that people are responding to both couples pretty equally?
People on the forum I follow are kind of everywhere. They're talking about lots of different things and analyzing and questioning everything. They're not, since right now we're not talking so much about Daphne and Bay Emmett anymore. We're on to other things. They're not talking about that. But it's right. I don't feel like the triangle is the heart of our show right now. We have the kids are each going through something. Emmett's going through a terrible divorce. Bay's going through an identity crisis. The parents have a lot going on, so it doesn't feel like the triangle. And I didn't want to do that, you know. I didn't want the show to collapse under itself under a triangle. And the show is not just a teen show, so we wanted always to have adult issues as well.
Well, we appreciate it because I love the show, and I am not exactly a teenager anymore. So, well, thank you so much. It was great to see you.